This is TLV1.
TLV1 radio.
Great mixer.
I like Tel Aviv.
This is TLV1.
This is
Tel Aviv is a beautiful city.
Great city, great radio.
TLV1.
This is TLV1.
From the TLV1 studios in Tel Aviv, Israel, it's Louis Live! That's your host, me, Ari Louis. Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone is well. Happy Passover to all. This is Louis Live on TLV1. We have a great show tonight. Ronny Moscona, the IFL Bowl 7 MVP, will come on, along with his teammate, Louis D. Duker. And, of course, I have on Brynn, Jonathan Butler, the director of Split Decision, along with Yossi the Bus, and much more. But our first guest of the evening is played with Hapoel. He's currently in the past played with the Toronto Raptors, Chicago Bulls, and, of course, the Detroit Pistons. Please give a warm Louis Live welcome to Ronald Dupree. Ronald, welcome to the program. How you doing out there?
Good, man. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's great. It's my pleasure. Glad to have you on. And a lot to talk about you in this short segment we have with you tonight. You know, this team, Hapoel, destroyed Maccabi Tel Aviv a few weeks ago. You guys are rolling right now. It's back and forth between you and Maccabi for the number one seed. I think a big part of that is Brad Greenberg. He won a title with Haifa last year. Now he's with Jerusalem. He has NBA experience as a GM, as a coach. Talk about Coach Greenberg's influence on this ball club.
I just think Coach has been just a great motivational leader. I mean, obviously, he has a great knack of just finding niches for his players and, you know, putting us in positions to succeed. I just think his wisdom and really just leading us, keeping our heads more so mentally in the season, in the game, and building upon our just team concepts all season has been instrumental. And he's just done a great job of just, he's done a great job of us buying in. Like, you know, sometimes coaches just don't have the wherewithal or just the mindset to have all their players from 1 through 12 on the team to really buy into the system.
Right.
Coach Greenberg has done a good job of really doing that, and I think we bought in from day one, and you got to credit him for that.
I like that you said, because a lot of times players, they don't have the coach's attention, if you will, and they kind of tune them out and do their own thing. So you guys are all in. It's definitely paying off. Also, as a player, I'm sure you're happy the ownership wants to win. They brought in Brad Greenberg. You have Amari Stoudemire as a part owner. They got Lior Eliyahu, who was Mr. Maccabi Tel Aviv. They are doing things to give you chances to win, right?
Correct. I mean, all year it's seen they've made improvements throughout the course of the year. I think, you know, starting with our basic team in the beginning, our initial team, and then adding Lior and adding Bracey being instrumental. I think Lior, especially because he was just a perfect fit at the time at that position and a great playmaker, and to be, you know, also an Israeli. That type of talent was big.
And a big part of your guys' success, player-wise, of course, additionally, Lior Eliyahu and yourself, you have Drew and Kitchen, Josh Duncan. They are, I believe, in the top 10 in scoring of the entire league. So just talk about how you guys are such an offensive threat with those guys on the basketball team.
I mean, like, when you have good players, it's never a problem or issue when it comes down to offense. I mean, you know, we all go through lapses of, periodically through a game when we kind of go into a drought. But at the end of the day, we just have enough experience and talent, you know, to fill in a stat sheet and to put the ball in a bucket. You know, the question is, and the, I guess, day-to-day maintenance and trying to improve is this defensive end, consistently being committed to defense and getting better as a team.
Now, I'm curious because in doing research for this interview, I saw you played obviously in the NBA for a while, then different parts of the world. What made you want to decide to go to Israel? You must be crazy just like me to come here, but I got to know your reason of wanting to play in Israel and in the Israel League.
I mean, I've had former teammates that have played here,
right.
And I've, of course, heard of Maccabi. I've had not former, but other players that our agent represents. Some other guys I was here, Will Bynum is one big name that I can think of that played in Maccabi. And I've always heard great things about Tel Aviv, about Israel, about the country and the league. So, it's kind of a no-brainer, you know, when I thought about was approached with the idea of coming here and Coach Greenberg being a head coach, and we talked, in the summertime about what he was trying to do and the direction he wants to bring the team, and I was sold from that day.
Well, it was funny. Lior is producing with me. He's Israeli. He lifted his eyebrows. Like, you really like it here and all this stuff? You like the culture? People aren't that rude? You're enjoying it here?
Oh, I really am. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been in Germany and Italy, in Europe, and I enjoy Italy for sure. But being here, I think all around, just from the environment, atmosphere, the people, and our organization, I think has done a good job of really, making me feel comfortable as well as the other Americans on the team. And the weather is great,
Sure.
It's
That's a good point.
it's great to be able to wake up, majority of the season, and it's a debate whether to put on shorts or
Right.
or pants. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
That's a good point.
that's definitely a help. Like I say, it's a small country as well, so like the road trips just aren't brutal.
Yeah.
I've been to places where the country is huge and you got long road trips, but here I think it's convenient and helpful that you can play a game and leave on the same day and comfortably make it on game day or at that spot and be able to come back home the same night. I think that's also a plus. Great
points made by my guest right now, Ronald Dupree of Hapoel Yerushalayim. Going to your NBA days, now this is an Israel show, Jewish flavor, so you did play with Coach Larry Brown. You played for him, Jewish guy. My understanding is Larry Brown was never happy unless he was unhappy. Did you kind of notice that too when you played for him?
Absolutely. I mean, Larry, listen, Coach Brown could love you 2 weeks into the season, absolutely love you. And then a month later, want to trade you. I mean, that's just how he was, because my experience with him was like a roller coaster. I first got there from being in Chicago to my rookie season, and I kind of made my way, had a decent rookie season, so I came back to Detroit, to play with him that season. I mean, he gave me a hard time. Like, that preseason was rough. He really lit, he really, I guess, challenged me mentally, he was on me constantly. And as the season progressed, he kind of just, loosened the reins a little more, So by the time playoffs came around, I had good confidence and as well as the rest of the team. But if you were a point guard, under Larry Brown, I mean, I would really.
You wouldn't wish that on your worst enemy, right?
I wouldn't. Listen, Horace Jenkins played here, Hapoel Jerusalem. And I think it was the season after Detroit that he came back here for this team. And Horace Jenkins was another guy that I talked to about playing basketball in Israel. But he hated Larry Brown, and we were there together. And you can see Horace Jenkins today and ask him about Larry Brown, and he would at least talk with you an hour just frustrating and venting about how he hated playing for Larry Brown.
But it's interesting,
how bad he was.
Point guard wise, you had Allen Iverson, Chauncey Billups played for him. Their games really blossomed with him, but they also had feuds, so it was very interesting. Last question before we let you go, because the tournament ended, the NCAA, about a week ago, did some research. You played for LSU. I believe in 2000 you guys went to the Sweet 16. Is that correct?
Correct.
Tell us about that experience. That's obviously a tremendous accomplishment. You're playing in front of God knows how many people. Sweet 16. Tell us about those memories.
Well, it was, for us as a program at the time, we had just came off probation from the NCAA sanctions, and we had limited scholarships. That class that I came in with, it was just me and another guy named Torres Bright, starting point guard for that team. So we were freshmen coming in. And they had Stromae Swift, Jabari Smith. We had NBA talent on that roster with limited scholarships. So, to go from that to being in the NCAA tournament and making it to the Sweet 16 was huge for us. And to be young and to be able to contribute to that team at that time was a great experience. It just that it was ended, I think, prematurely by Wisconsin and then the Sweet 16 because that team that we were on had Final Four talent, but we just couldn't get it done. But that journey was great, and still think about it and celebrate it to this day.
All right, Ronald, great stuff. I'm sorry we're out of time. We'll have to do it again. This was a lot of fun. Really appreciate it. We know you're busy during the season. Good luck the rest of the way. Hope to see you in the title game winning it. And thank you so much for being on Louis Live tonight.
No problem. Thanks for having me. I had a good time, man. Thanks.
Thank you. Be well. All right, Ronald Dupree, we'll take a quick break. On the other side, talking about Jews in baseball, Radio Mike. This is Louis Live on TLV1. Back here on Louis Live on TLV1. If you want to follow the station on Twitter, you can do so at TLV1.fm. And if you want to email me personally, that's arilouisshow@hotmail.com, ARILOUISSHOW@hotmail.com. Just had a great segment with Ronald Dupree from Hapoel Yerushalayim. We're now going to switch gears, talk a little baseball with our main man from New York, Radio Mike. Radio Mike, how you doing out there?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing great. It's great to have you back on the program. It's been a while, and I wanted to talk about this interesting concept of Jews in baseball because the Major League season got started a couple weeks ago. There's some misnomers we want to clear up on the show and some things that we want to talk about and see how they'll do. First, I want to start with Ryan Braun because he missed a lot of last season due to that suspension, and he started off pretty strong, but Ryan Braun is not Jewish, correct?
Well, that's correct. He really isn't Jewish, technically. His father's Jewish, but his mother isn't. So technically, he really is not Jewish. And he did have he does say that he is Jewish, but he did have one great game where he hit 3 home runs, but that's all he's hit. That's the only 3 home runs he's hit so far in the first 2 weeks of the baseball season.
Okay, so it's not actually as good as we thought. His nickname is the Hebrew Hammer, and last year when he got suspended, there were many anti-Semitic comments on Twitter, all kinds of different names, but he's not Jewish. So I just want to clarify that for everyone listening. He is not Jewish. His father's Israeli, but his mom is not Jewish, so according to Jewish law, he's not. Let's talk about Kevin Youkilis because he's been on my program. Big fan of Kevin, but Kevin is not in the major leagues right now. He was with the Yankees, now he's not, right? Tell us where Kevin is.
Well, yes. I'm very friendly with actually Kevin Youkilis' uncle, and he's playing baseball in Japan. I was kind of disappointed. He played third base last year for the Yankees for about 8 games, had a back problem, ended up with surgery, was supposed to come back in September, and that was it. Never played anything really. I think he had 2 home runs for the Yankees in 8 or 10 games, and now he's out in Japan.
All right, so he's out in Japan, and hopefully he'll be back in the Major Leagues because I'm a big fan of his. Jason Marquis, he's been a strong pitcher for a while. He was with the Padres last year. He, at this point, where is he at?
Yeah, I don't think he's actually on any Major League roster. He hasn't played yet this year. He's also not really, he's technically Jewish, but he's some sort of like Seventh-day Adventist, and he's also one of those on-the-fence Jewish fellows.
Okay.
Whether he's technically Jewish or not is also a question.
Okay. Let's go to Josh Satin because he was part of the WBC team that tried to qualify for the World Baseball Classic for Israel, so certainly proud to be Jewish. He's with the Mets. What do you expect out of him in 2014? He had a pretty good year last year.
Yeah, he batted about 275 for the Mets, which is really, really an accomplishment. Right now, the Mets are a little bit messed up at first base because they're playing another fellow Jew over there. Ike Davis has had a terrible last year, and he has a lot of potential, was almost rookie of the year, has a terrific amount of power. He did hit one grand slam to win a game for the Mets this year. So he's platooning. There's a three-way platoon between Josh Satin, Ike Davis, and Lucas Duda. And to start, they're not sure what they're doing there at the Mets and this and that. They really have to figure out what they're doing. Josh Satin, the one thing that's good about him, he can fill in at third base. He can play other positions. And really, Ike Davis and Lucas Duda really can't. So that's one very big advantage for having Josh Satin on your team. He doesn't have the power of these other two fellows, but he doesn't strike out as much, and he's a much better overall player than they are.
But Radio Mike, you're telling me the Mets are a bit of disarray? They don't know how to manage things? Is that what you're telling me?
Just a little bit.
As you like to say, the Mets are already in midseason form for the Mets. Let's go to Ian Kinsler because there's been a lot of talk. He was on the Rangers and those World Series teams, but I've heard he is not Jewish. I heard he is. Can you give us an answer on that one?
Yeah, I also believe that he also is, his father, I believe, is Jewish and his mother is not. There's always divergent opinions of who's accepted as a Jew, who's not. If he would play for Israel in the World Baseball Classic, definitely he's a Jew.
Right.
But I mean, that was a major, major deal for him to come to Detroit, and Detroit gave up on Prince Fielder. Ian Kinsler moving to Detroit. He's batting .308, and he's a proven player for all these years. And of course, the manager of Detroit is another Jewish fellow, Brad Ausmus, who was
on my show, of course.
Right. He was a terrific terrific manager for the World Baseball Classic for Israel.
Yeah, and Brad Ausmus very well could win a World Series this year. Time will tell him that. A few more minutes left with Radio Mike. Let's talk about Scott Feldman. He's with the Astros, 10th season, signed a $30 million three-year contract with the Astros last winter, so he's going to be set money-wise, hopefully. Won't spend all that. Tell us a bit of what do you expect out of Scott Feldman.
Well, Scott Feldman is really a proven pitcher. I saw him, I think it was opening night, how he shut down the Yankees. It might not be the biggest accomplishment anymore to shut down the Yankees, as
right.
A lot of pitchers do that. I mean, he is 2-0 already with a .44 ERA. The only game he didn't win, he could have been 3-0, but he gave up no runs in, I believe, 7 or 8 innings, and Houston lost the game against Texas in the 12th inning, 1-0. So, I mean, you can't pitch much better than that, and he is 2-0. He's a good pitcher, and I think he's going to help Houston a lot. And I don't think Houston's going to be, last year they won almost a record low amount of games. I think Houston might open up some eyes this year. They have a good manager and a young team, and they're hungry, and they might make some waves.
All right, last player we'll talk about is Craig Breslow because he was with the Red Sox when they won the World Series last season. He's also known as very, very intelligent, and apparently he was the only Jewish guy in the World Series. What is the latest with Craig? Did they let him back on the team?
He's even though, being a Yankee fan, I really hate the Red Sox, but he is a favorite of mine, Greg Breslow. He has, I think, a degree in molecular physics, and another thing, he's really, really a bright fellow. I think he went to Yale, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was one of those Ivy schools,
and he's an excellent pitcher, so, I hope he does very, very well for the Red Sox, and, of course, not against the Yankees.
Right.
But, I wish him all the best. He's a good guy.
All right, Radio Mike, we're out of time. Wanted to wish you and your family, of course, a happy Pesach, Chag Sameach, and only the best, and looking forward to coming back to Israel real soon.
Chag Sameach. Thank you.
Sure, be well. All right, Radio Mike, everybody. We'll take a quick break. On the other side, anti-Semitism in boxing? Who would have thought? This is Louis Live on TLV1.
She really gets me high. Bam-a-lam, you know that's no lie. Bam-a-lam, she's so rock steady. Bam-a-lam, and she's always ready. Bam-a-lam, whoa, back Betty. Bam-a-lam, whoa, back Betty.
Back here on TLV1, thanks to Ron Dupree and Radio Mike for coming on for our first two segments. Hope everyone's having a good Passover out there. We're going to switch gears and talk a little boxing. This next guest has been on my show on Israel Sports Radio several times. I think the shortest segment we ever did was 27 minutes, so to do an 8-minute segment will be difficult, but we're going to try. On the line right now, the director of Split Decision and author of the book, A Cuban Boxer's Journey, Brynn Jonathan Butler. Brynn, welcome back, baby. How you doing out there?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. So let's get right into it. On Saturday night, Manny Pacquiao got the victory over Timothy Bradley, rematch fight, obviously. And my first thoughts, believe it or not, were Freddie Roach, who is Pacquiao's trainer, because there was an incident in November of last year where one of Roach's handlemen referred to Elie Seckbach, who covers a lot of boxing, as, quote, the Jew reporter. And I just had this idea about anti-Semitism in boxing. So you're on the inside, you're the expert. With the Freddie Roach incident, what exactly happened there?
Well, he'd been mocked for his Parkinson's syndrome by his opponent's strength and conditioning coach, Alex Ariza. So, I mean, somebody who suffered from Parkinson's syndrome for 25 years being mocked with somebody shaking and mimicking the speech deficit, it'd be pretty upsetting in a public forum. Elie Seckbach was hired by the Garcia team to sort of work as seemed like a publicist for them. Elie Seckbach had quite a history at Wildcard Gym. I believe he was thrown out of there for some kind of infraction. I don't know specifically what it was. But I've met Seckbach on a few occasions, and he was very proud of talking about Israel and talking about his Jewish identity. So what Roach said after that incident was that all he'd really talked with Elie about was listening to him talk about Israel. And so that's what he was referencing, because he didn't know Elie's name. And so he said that Jewish reporter. So I think it's a very poor choice of words, but if you've ever spent time at the Wildcard Gym, all nationalities are represented, and I've spent a lot of time with Freddie one-on-one, and I've never made him, hint at any sort of racial profiling or derogatory statement about another race. So I think it was a poor choice of words in that incident.
All right, so thanks for clearing that up there. Let's talk about Bob Arum, because he's obviously a huge fixture in the sport, almost Don King type of level, and he's a Jewish guy, and there's been some anti-Semitism towards him from Oscar De La Hoya. One of the things I'm curious about before we talk about De La Hoya, this whole thing with Floyd and Bob Arum's feud, is that a Jewish, non-Jewish thing, black-white thing, rich person, didn't grow up rich? I mean, what is that exactly, that feud?
It's touchy. I mean, boxing literally springs from slavery. So race has always been a component, and from the earliest days, you had the first black champion beginning by fighting in battle royales, up to 10 blacks, the biggest ones that whites could find, who were the audience for these people fighting, and they'd blindfold them, and the last man standing took the prize money. So there's races, it's inescapable. It's a really ugly role in boxing. And Arum, even on Saturday night, made reference to Mayweather, discussing his, quote, thuggery, and that we need to, get away from that. And thuggery, especially in the last year or so, has been closely identified with sort of a code word for, clearly a black behavioral trait. It's just a really unfortunate term to toss around in that context. So, and then, as you're saying with De La Hoya definitely made reference to, some anti-Semitic remarks directed at Arum. So, yeah, I think there's quite a history of it, of especially the black Jewish tension.
Didn't De La Hoya say something to the effect of, I took on one of the biggest Jews out of Harvard, something like that? It was a really weird. It was a weird comment. Of course, Bob Arum used to also promote De La Hoya, and before they had their feud. Let's go to Mike Tyson, late '80s, because his original handlers, Jacobs, all those guys, were Jewish, and then Don King came in. So was that also a thing of race where Don King says, "Hey, why are you with Jewish guys, why not, I'm black, you're black, why don't you come with me? Was that played out at all in the late 80s?
Oh, absolutely, no question. I mean, going back to Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali, these were fighters who were owned entirely by white management groups. The Louisville management group of Ali, I think, was white businessmen. Same with Joe Frazier in Philadelphia. So I think Don King's approach to Mike Tyson was, and I think Tyson referenced this later on, is would you rather be robbed by white people or by one of your own kind?
That's what Don King said to him?
Yeah, in essence. I mean, I think what's said of Don King, and I don't mean to misphrase it, but I think it's that he doesn't see race. It's just green. That's the only thing that matters. And he, really any criticism of Don King, what he's used to deflect it is that it's just racism. I mean, it's his standby defense. So he's been incredibly shrewd with how he's manipulated the sport and the media through race.
All right. Now, you yourself, Brynn Jonathan Butler, and myself have kind of been a part of potential anti-Semitism because a few years ago, I gave you a press pass as part of Israel Sports Radio to see a fight, and something interesting happened. Please tell the audience all about it.
Well, yeah, I petitioned for credentials based on being a boxing correspondent for Israel Sports Radio, where you kindly put me on the masthead so that they had something to reference when they looked it up, if they looked it up. I mean,
right.
Boxing, I don't know that there's much barriers for entry into that sport, but anyway, somebody looked it up, and what they came away with when I actually received the credential was that I was Brett Butler from Jew Radio. So it is something that I've saved ever since my first boxing credential.
Wow, Jew Radio. And, of course, that is mentioned in your book, A Cuban Boxer's Journey. That can be purchased on Amazon.com, correct?
Yeah, it's available for pre-order right now, and on June 3rd it's released.
June 3rd is released, and the latest with the movie Split Decision, which is about Rigondo, who is a boxer who defects from Cuba, in the United States. What's the latest with the film coming out?
It's just being entered into the festival circuit. So
okay.
We're just looking for some of the major festivals to get it out and hopefully get it sold.
All right, great stuff. So you guys can find out more about the film and the book, Cuban Boxer's Journey, and get that on Amazon right now, and then it'll be released on a larger scale June 3rd. Brynn, somehow we got it done in 8 minutes. I don't know how, but we'll have to have you on again. Thanks for being on Louis Live on TLV1 and clearing up some of the misnomers about race and anti-Semitism in the world of boxing.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Sure, be well. Brynn Jonathan Butler, everybody. Quick break. On the other side, we'll talk a little Israel football with Tel Aviv Pioneers player Louis D. This is Louis Live on TLV1. Back here on Louis Live on TLV1. Thanks again to Brynn Jonathan Butler, the author of the new book, Cuban Boxer's Journey, which can be purchased on Amazon right now. We're going to switch gears and talk American football. On the line right now, fresh off his championship victory with the Tel Aviv Pioneers on Friday, an 80-28 score. We'll get more to that. On the line right now is Louis D. Louis, how you doing out there?
I'm good, Ari, and it's actually Louis Duker, but we'll keep it a D.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry about that. But Facebook,
No
Facebook, you have it as D, right?
Yeah, it's just whatever. No big deal.
Well, we'll talk about your superstitious stuff in just a moment, but I want to go first to this Friday game. I'll put it to you this way. You guys won 80-28, and a friend of mine said the score was actually closer than what the game was.
You know what? It really felt that way the whole way through. And
yeah.
From my standpoint, because it was so hot, every time I came off the field, I was just underneath the tent the whole time. I did not watch the offense whatsoever. So it was only until halftime where I personally realized what the score was. But up to that point, we were playing each play, each drive, like it was 0-0. I know it's kind of cliche,
yeah,
but that's how it really did feel out there. It was that intense. And so...
It was really hot. It was really hot. I mean, I was Friday night at synagogue. Someone said you got some sun. I mean, they clearly saw that I was burnt. I just sat there and I wasn't playing. Now,
you and Betzall were really red. It was incredible.
So, well, there's a lot to be said about that, but that's another time on Facebook. Now, the thing is, I want to know, it was such a bloodbath. Did the authorities contact your team and try to press charges for murder? I mean, it was... It was one of the most brutal, embarrassing. I had to leave during the third quarter. I couldn't watch it. I felt bad for the Lions.
You actually left in the third quarter?
I left in the third.
Leave.
I did. I had to leave. I just couldn't. I felt bad for him. And the Lions don't necessarily look at me as the favorite broadcaster, and I understand. But it was hard for me to watch. And playing a game like that when you're up 50-6. Some things I want to know when you say, because the Pioneers for those who don't know, when the Pioneers score a touchdown or touchdowns given up, they say, "What's the score? 0-0. What's the score? 0-0." Can you say that with a straight face, up 50-6?
Listen, like I said, I did not even see the scoreboard. I was underneath the tent. The only time I'd see offense is if they were on our side of the 10-yard line. I could just look straight ahead. Other than that, I had no idea what was going on, which was beautiful, by the way.
All right. But at halftime,
all things being equal, we have a mentality on the team of really, it doesn't matter what happened, good or bad, it's always moving forward. And that mentality was how we've been carrying ourselves for not just this year, but for the last few years. And everything this year, man, it just clicked. And when you have the type of talent that we have on our team and the type of coaches that led us in the right direction, and it installed a mentality, and it's contagious. And I guess the cream rises to the top. And, my hat's off to the Lions. They are a tough team. I know it was a blowout, but listen, they gave us, a very brutal game ourselves. I mean, I'm beat up. I know a lot of guys on our team are beat up. It feels probably less for us because we won, but nevertheless, it was a good game on their part.
Okay, but at halftime, you do know the score, and what I'm curious about in the halftime talk, Coach Kershaw, Bobby Ashkenazi, what could they possibly say? What are they going to say that you're doing wrong when you're up 50-6? What was going on in the halftime speech?
It's not going. What's doing wrong is how we can continue this. How can we continue? And yeah, we didn't put up another 50 points. That's ridiculous.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we didn't punt, and you can't ask us to take a knee at halftime. So we just ran our offense and methodically moved down the field. We used every single player on our roster. It wasn't like we're using our stars. I got subbed out at some point. Everybody got subbed out. Some guys got injured on our team. I mean, listen, even though it was 80-28, it was a tough game. It was hard-hitting all around. Even for the Lions, they were playing with all their heart. And, when you're in this championship game, the hits are harder. It's a little bit faster. It's the playoffs. They played two pretty brutal games before they got to us. Same with us. And you know what? We meet head-to-head, and this is what you see.
Speak with Louis Dupree from the Tel Aviv Pioneers here on Louis Live on TLV1. Now, let's talk about that issue that you somewhat alluded to, because there have been people in my ear saying there was some bad blood between the teams and the Pioneers ran up the score. But I think that's absurd.
That's not true.
Yeah. So tell us about that. That's, as you talked about, you guys used all your players, so go ahead and elaborate on it.
Well, like I said, I mean, it's football. It's competitive. The Lions, likewise, if they were in our position, they would give us the same treatment with a smile on their face. So it's not like I feel guilty about beating them in any way or shape or form. You see this often in college football, where you see a BCS game where 10-2 team takes on an undefeated team from some other conference, and you see a huge blowout. This does happen when you have these championship games, because one team goes into it with a certain mentality, and one team may not go into it with the same mentality. And you really do see these vicious beatings like what you just saw. It was an all-out game, and I'm sorry that you left in the third quarter because there was still some really good football going on.
All right, one thing I'm also concerned because kind of towards the end it seemed to get a little chippy. I know that Todd Warnick had to walk Gani Madad to the other side and was yelling at him. I know you're running back Henry.
I don't think it was that chippy, to be honest with you. I think the penalties were very little all around. There wasn't like any crazy personal fouls. One kid from the Lions really got I think it was Shmuel Halperin, the tight end. He got kneed in the head by accident. It was not like on intention. You can't purposely do something like that. It was a freak injury.
Right.
And the poor kid, he was down for a while. They took a stretcher out, and luckily he walked off on his own volition. But nevertheless, I mean, that was just the type of game it was. And all around, my hat's off to the Lions. They played a good game, but we came into it as the champions. Like, we had that mentality going into it.
Yeah.
Well, and I can't say what they did before the game, but how we came into the game, we were ready to go. Yeah,
your coach at the beginning of the year on this program said you guys were going to win the whole thing. So it was definitely the mindset from the beginning. A few more minutes left with you. Your team scores 80 points. Now, considering the fact that the plans are to go to a 100-yard field at some point, 11-on-11 at some point.
They need to do that.
Yeah.
They need to do it like yesterday.
They've been talking about that for a while, Louis. We'll see what happens. Things move a little slow in this league sometimes. But
I hear you.
But if that happens, 80 points is not going to be scored again in a title game. Even if it goes 8-on-8, it's still not likely.
That's a good point.
Your team will probably have this record forever. What does that mean to you?
Well, for me, individual records really don't mean much. This team that we played on this year, we broke a lot of records. This defense, I think, I'm not too sure how many yards we gave up total in the whole season. But even with the Lions, they ran it 8 times and got a net 8, or not even 8 yards. They got a negative 0 yards rushing. That just shows what kind of presence we show out there with our 2 really tough defensive linemen, Tulson Yor, Avia Shermack, and our linebackers, who include a soft cat, Steven Weinberg, or Shalom, Charles Gordon. These guys step up big, and you know what? Those guys individually at their positions do an amazing job. It allows guys in the secondary like me, Sagan Zavello, and Elon Nair to make plays. And it really just boils down to just individual play. And when you have everyone clicking on the same level, same heartbeat, in a big-time game, big-time atmospheres, you know what? It's a beautiful thing when it actually does come through. And I'm still trying to have it all soak in.
And last question I have for you now, you apparently have wanted to come on the show for a long time, but you are, quote, superstitious. Tell us about that.
I am superstitious.
Tell us about that.
Well, I guess everyone has their own little things, but I guess I just didn't want to reveal anything that maybe someone could, analyze or dissect or use against me in some sort of way. I mean, I did play a quite brutal sport.
Right.
And I'm just looking forward to the next chapter in my life, really.
All right. Well, Louis, we certainly appreciate the time. Congrats on the championship. And our next segment, we're going to have your teammate, Ronny Moscona, the MVP of the game. So thank you for being on the show tonight. Really appreciate it. And enjoy the victory the rest of the offseason.
Cool, man. See you soon.
Thank you. Be well. Louis Duker, everyone, from your Tel Aviv Pioneers. Quick break. On the other side, IFL Bowl 7 MVP, Ronny Moscona. This is Louis Live on TLV1.
זה לא שאני לבד
Great music, of course. All my music for all my shows is courtesy of Tomer Gersherman, and I want to say thank you to him and happy holidays to him. And, of course, to the Ori Pedlick in studio with me tonight producing. We're staying on the theme of American football, of course, talking about IFL Bowl 7 on the line right now. The MVP of that ball game with, I believe, 5 passing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns, probably still scoring some touchdowns as we speak, Mr. Ronny Moscona. Ronny, welcome to Louis Live on TLV1.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Are you still scoring touchdowns right now, like during the interview?
Absolutely not.
Now,
I'm resting right now. I'm a little hurt. They managed to hit me a couple times. So
I'm sure. Well, they were frustrated losing 80-28, so they're gonna have to take a couple of shots. Now, first touchdown pass was the first pass from scrimmage. It was kind of a freak play because your receiver first touched it, ball in the air, could have been intercepted, and then your guy gets it and scores. When that happens, do you say to yourself, "This is just my day"?
No, I was like, I was really lucky. I felt really lucky then.
Okay.
And but you know what? That just happened to be the theme for the rest of the day. Really, we had a couple freak accidents. Like I bobbled a play action play, and then to end the first half, I threw the touchdown to Omri Sapir. So it just seemed everything to be going our way that day.
Now, there's a lot of background between these two teams, and it was very interesting because you go back to 2011, Itash Kenazi, Daniel Rohn, Aryeh Bauman, they all left the Lions, went to the Pioneers, and there's kind of this bad blood that sort of wasn't talked about that much, kind of like the white elephant in the room. Was that something you felt, because you were kind of in the middle of all that, because Chaim Schiff leaves the Pioneers and goes to the Lions. Itai leaves the Lions with the Pioneers. And when Chaim was on the team, he got more snaps than you. When Itai was on the team, he got more snaps than you. And here you are, the MVP of a game where both of those gentlemen are on the field watching you throw 5 touchdowns. That must have been extra special.
To be honest, no, it's not something that I thought about. I was in a different position back then. I played defense, so being a quarterback is it's not really anything I thought about. Also, the whole I guess there is some sort of feud between the two, but I never really felt it. I never. It was just it was a good game. It was nice to have.
Yeah, it was fun. See, it's funny you bring that up because at the end of the game, I saw you tie, and I said, "Hey, congratulations!" It must have felt extra special to beat the Lions. He's like, "Oh, what are you talking about? I love these guys." And then he kind of gave me a dirty look. I don't think he liked that question. So apparently, it's not something that's talked about if it is going on. It's kind of quiet.
Maybe it is. Like I said, definitely not a part of anything of whoever has said any sort of feud. But listen, I know they have some good guys on their team, and I respect them. I just had fun, went out there and played football. That's what I like to do.
Now, the MVP of the Super Bowl goes to Disneyland. The MVP of the Israel Bowl, where does he go? Do you go to like a lot?
Shabbat dinner.
Shabbat dinner, okay.
Shabbat dinner.
It was probably one of the better Shabbats of your life, I imagine.
It was nice. It was just with some friends. I was planning on going out, but just so tired after the game. It was hot out there.
Now, part of the reason why it was hot, the late start, it was 1:40, I think, when everything got underway. And then a lot of people after the game, game ends 4:30. You're celebrating about 5. A lot of people have to go back for Shabbat. What are your thoughts? Would you like to see the commissioner move the game up earlier next year?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like an earlier game is definitely reasonable. But from what I heard, there was like scheduling conflicts, so I didn't. But yeah, absolutely. If the game were earlier, I would appreciate that. I mean, we had to drive back to Tel Aviv, get ready. It was all
in traffic, all that kind of stuff. Not a lot of fun. Now, this game, as we talked about, 80-28, it's the biggest blowout in Israel Bowl history. As I said in the previous segment, the 80 points will probably last forever, and I'm sure you feel good about that. What I would be concerned as a quarterback is that if the Lions are losing like that, they don't really have anything to lose, and they might play a little harder. Now, your teammate Louis said there wasn't any cheap shots. Did you feel that? Did you feel that the game was played pretty clean most of the way?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
There was actually a certain point there where I knew a guy could have hit me harder, and it was in the later part of the game. But he didn't. I mean, they played with class.
All right.
They did play with class.
All right. So again, and then 80-28. during the game, you're thinking to yourself, I'm just going to keep whatever I'm doing is working. I'm not going to change anything and just go with the flow. You're in the zone. You got the 5 touchdowns, and you just think keep with the flow, right?
Yeah, for the most part, look, we got ahead. I think it actually, the point I felt like it started to just landslide was Elon Niger's return for the kick, and I was, because we had already scored like 2 touchdowns before that, and then he scored another one, and then it was just, so we were like, we're gonna run it, and we did, but like every time we got into 3rd down, we tried to pass it again, and we just managed to keep scoring. I don't know.
I mean, that play you're talking about, I agree 100%, and I told him that was the play that sealed the game, because it looked like he was going to get tackled at the 5-yard line, lose yards. That would have been huge momentum for the Lions. He turns around and scores. I was sitting next to Johnny Joe. I said this game's over, and that was in the first quarter, but just kind of the way it was. Now, again, talking about this performance, would you wake up in the morning, you're brushing your teeth, do you look in the mirror and say, I think we're going to win 80-28 today? I mean, like,
absolutely not. No.
There was no feeling before that we're going to blow them out and this is going to be a cakewalk. Nothing like that.
Look, we planned for this game. We took it seriously, like we took every other game serious. Going into the playoffs, we did extra practices. We did film work. I felt like we came in prepared, so I was confident coming into the game, but I did not expect the outcome.
Yeah,
that happened.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, they obviously can be and play as a better team. Just unfortunately, that on Friday it wasn't there for them.
Right, and last thing we'll leave you with, I kind of felt, back in January when you guys played, it went to overtime, the Lions won. I got in some trouble because before the game, I said that you guys were going to win by 3 touchdowns, but not everyone was healthy. I thought when healthy that you guys were a 3-touchdown plus better team because of all the facets. Henry is a great runner. You're a great passer. Ben Svi's a great kicker, a great receiver. I just felt that when healthy, I just felt you had all the positions down, and that's what happened. I mean, I was obviously surprised it was 50-plus points, but I just think your team was solid.
I agree. Our offense is, we've got a lot of pieces on the offense that they're good players, starting from the O-line, going to the tight end, running backs, receivers. We got a lot of weapons, but also the defense. The defense got us to the championship game.
Oh, yeah. And Soft Cat's former MVP, and, of course, on the line right now, the current reigning IFL Bowl MVP. Almost said Super Bowl, but IFL Bowl. Super Bowl maybe one day. Ronnie, thank you so much. Enjoy the victory. Well earned, well deserved, and only the best things going forward, man. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Be well. Ronny Moscona, everyone, the IFL Bowl 7 MVP. Quick break. On the other side, Yossi the Bus Friedman to talk about wrestling. This is Louis Live on TLV1.
Girl, you really got me now. You got me so I don't know what I'm doing. Girl, you really got me now. You got me so I can't sleep at night. Girl, you really got me now. You got me so I don't know where I'm going, yeah. Oh yeah, you really got me now. You got me so I can't sleep at night. You really got me. Oh, you really got me. Oh, you really got me. Please don't ever let me be. I only wanna be by your side. Please don't ever let me be. I only wanna be by your side. Girl, you really got me now. You got me so I don't know what I'm doing, yeah. Oh yeah, you really got me now. Got me so I can't sleep at night. You really got me. You really got me. You really got me.
back here on Louis Live on TLV1. We're going to wrap up tonight's edition of Louis Live, talking some wrestling. There's a big tournament going on during Pesach. We said months ago on this show that we were going to talk about this tournament when it came, and we are delivering on our word. On the line right now to break down the big wrestling tournament in Israel is Yossi the Bus Friedman. Yossi the Bus, welcome back to Louis Live.
Hi, I'm going to talk a little bit about the IPWA event that will be happening this week, as well as event in the AWO that will be happening in the future, because it's just so big and you can't avoid talking about it when I reveal what's going to happen.
Okay, we're excited about that. So let's save that for the end. The event going on this week, who's wrestling in it? Where could people see it? Why is it such a big deal?
Well, we have a special guest, a former ECW Tag Team Champion and WWE Cruiserweight Champion, little Guido Nunzio, is making his way all the way from the United States to hold a training camp here, and then there will be a show on April 19th called the IPWA Passover Bash. And one reason I'm excited for this more than any other event that recently is because it's being held in Jerusalem.
Oh, okay.
It's being held at the City Gym, which is, I believe, on Lund Street, number 10, and you could check that out. If it's not clear to you, you could check it out. It's at 8:30, and you can look that up on their page, IPWA, Israel Pro Wrestling Association's Facebook page, as well as on their website, ipwa.co.il. And you wanted to talk about who is wrestling?
Yeah, sure. I mean, Lior's in studio. He loves wrestling. I mean, this is something. Are these quality wrestlers that people should go out and try to see?
Well, definitely. Israel has worked really hard, and these are guys that have been around the block a few times. You have the best in Israel, the champion, Lior Liebman, that won at their last event back in September, and he'll be defending the IPWA championship against Platinum Sharon Palti, and of course, the great match that we're all waiting for with little Guido Nunzio will be facing the founder of IPWA, the former 5-time IPWA champion, Rabbi Swissa.
All right.
Also known as Jerry Royce.
Right, but he's not really a rabbi, right? Doesn't have smicha or anything? That's like his name. It's like it's part of the game, right? Or is he
that's his character.
Okay, that's his character. This little Guido guy, I'm fascinated about him. I mean, like, is he really little and then call him that, or is it like when you have the big guy in the middle, you call him tiny? Like, is this, how big is this guy?
Well, let's just say if you had a gang of guys, he'd be the leader, but unlike in most gangs where you have the leader and you have the lackeys, he gets his hands dirty when he's in a fight.
All right. That sounds like good stuff. And the other thing is, Jerusalem Light should probably take advantage of this because most of the time it's up in Netanya, these events, right?
Generally, yes. This Association of Wrestling in Israel happens to practice most of the time in Netanya, but I think they'll have more. I'm not sure how often, but it looks like they plan on having more shows in Jerusalem. I told you last time about their contract with City Gym, setting up some sort of training in that location for their wrestling association. So hopefully, I mean, there's a chance it might not come back to Jerusalem, but it looks like now we might have more events. But yes, it's generally held in Netanya, and I'm very excited. And also, it's on a Saturday night. A lot of the times these events are held during the week, but this is a treat. Saturday night, everyone's celebrating Pesach now, so there's a lot more free time to be able to do stuff like this.
All right, last few minutes we have left to, and now tell us about the big future event coming up and why we should be interested in what's so big about it. What's so special about it?
Well, I'm more associated with the IPWA, but from what I've heard about the AWO, they've been getting a lot of international coverage in newspapers, Ma'ariv, Haaretz, and it's because they've been able to draw some heavy talent and develop a very good program up in Tira, which is in north of Israel, and they have these 3 special guests that are going to be coming to what they're calling WrestleFest 3, which will be taking place in Tira, and whatever, you're going to be paying a lot of money, but you're hopefully going to get your money's worth. I believe the tickets are going for 130 shekel, and the VIP tickets are going for 200 shekel.
Wow.
They're going to be having 3 guests, former WWE wrestlers that have wrestled some of the greatest guys in the world, John Cena, Randy Orton. These guys, 3 guys, one of them is Sabu, who was greatly known for his time in ECW. And the other 2 guys are Carlito and Chris Masters.
All right. That's some good stuff.
Carlito was probably the most recent guy we saw in the WWE atmosphere. He was inducting his father, Carlos Colon, into the WWE Hall of Fame last Saturday night on WrestleMania weekend.
All right. Great stuff there. And just to wrap it up, this coming up, Motzi Shabbat, you can see this tournament, the Passover Bash, at 10 Lund Street. Is that correct? This Motzi Shabbat?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Everyone's.
I wanted to just say one last quick thing.
Sure.
About that WrestleFest event. It's to be held in Tira, and it will be opening the gates at 8 o'clock, and it will be on June 26, 2014. Hopefully, we could get in touch a little time before that, and I could get more information.
Oh, yeah, we'll break that down. And then, again, if people want more information on this event, you can type in IPWA, name of the organization, correct?
For the Passover Bash and for the WrestleFest event being held by AWO, you can look for All Wrestling Organization on Facebook.
All right, yes, the bus, we got to run. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Be well.
Have a good holiday and good night.
Thank you. All right, folks, that ends our show for tonight. I want to thank everyone for coming on. We, of course, kicked off the program with Ron Dupree from Polish Lime, talk about how he likes Israel and likes playing here. We then switched gears to baseball, spoke with Radio Mike, talking about how, believe it or not, Ryan Braun, the Hebrew Hammer, is not Jewish. Brynn Jonathan Butler talking about how I gave him a press pass for Israel Sports Radio, but he got the pass Jew Sports Radio. We then spoke with Louis D. Duker from the Tel Aviv Pioneers, saying that the Lions at the end of the day played pretty clean. Then we spoke with IFL 7 MVP Ronny Moscona, something in the air, he felt good, 5 touchdowns, 3 running, and ended the program with Yes, the Bus Friedman talking about the Passover Bash this Motzei Shabbat. Stay tuned for a lot of great programming and a lot of great stuff. But that's it for tonight. God bless and good night.